My name is Ted Gennerman, and I am Special Education Program Support for the Muskego-Norway School District. I put together this DVD so that hopefully we can clarify the differences between accommodations, modifications, and interventions. The terms are certainly familiar to all of us in education, but they tend to be used interchangeably. And certainly while there's some overlap between them, there are important distinctions between accommodations, modifications, and interventions that are worth talking about. It's important to understand that all three of these are important as we seek to help children learn and grow. But we are going to choose one over the other based on what we're looking to accomplish and the student's needs. So sit back, relax, but not too much, for you are about to enter the thrilling world of accommodations, modifications, and interventions. The first of these three terms that we're going to address is accommodations. When you hear accommodations, I want you to think access. When we provide accommodations to a student, we are referring to adaptations to the child's curriculum, the materials, or environment that do not alter, change, or lower the expectations for that particular child. And that's an important distinction. Accommodations are child-specific. When we do an accommodation for a child, it is specific to their needs. And they can range. They can be pretty mild and unobtrusive, such as seating a child next to a positive role model, or perhaps in a less visually stimulating area of the classroom. But they can also be fairly significant as well. An example might be removing the child from the regular education setting during standardized testing to a smaller group setting so that they can be more successful. So there really is quite a range there. The key to remember with accommodations is that we are not changing, altering, or lowering the expectations for that child. The other important distinction rather, is that we are not teaching a new skill. When we accommodate for a child, we are not teaching the child a new skill. We are simply providing them access. Some examples of commonly used accommodations are preferential seating, the use of headphones, study carrels, slant boards. Sometimes I'll see frequent redirection, schedule changes, increased time to complete tasks, but of course this would only be an accommodation in the case where time is not a factor. If time is a factor, then, and we change the amount of time, that does alter the expectation, so that no longer is an accommodation. Also, use of multisensory teaching or changing the layout of a test to make it maybe less visually stimulating for a child. Those are all examples of accommodations. So remember, the key with accommodations, accommodations do not change, alter, or lower the expectations for a child, nor do they teach the child a new skill. The second term that we're going to talk about is modifications. Now, if you remember from accommodations, because it was a very long time ago that we talked about accommodations, we talked about access. When you think about modifications, I want you to think about change. Unlike accommodating for a student, where you don't change the expectation, when you modify or provide modifications for a student, you are changing the expectations for that child. Similar to an accommodation, modifications are also child-specific. It is the change in expectation, however, that's the primary difference between an accommodation and a modification. A question that's frequently asked is it okay to modify a student's work? And even a student who is not enrolled in special education, and the answer is most certainly yes. A child does not have to be in special education to modify their work. The caveat to that, of course, would be standardized testing, where there are some pretty specific guidelines for what you can change and how you can change it, so you'd have to look that one up on your own. So when we modify a student's work, the product that we receive from that student is different from that of their peers. So to modify means that we're changing their expectations, or the work or the product that we're getting from them. We are not teaching new skills. We are only changing the expectation. Some examples might be providing verbal responses to questions versus a written response, lifting time restrictions where time is actually factored into how well they do. Changing the child's instructional level of the curriculum. Those would all be examples of modifications because they do in fact change or alter the expectations. What? Are you kidding? You tell my agent I don't do it for any less than 25 bucks. Oh, we're back, sorry. Hi. A little trouble with my agent. We're okay. The final term that we're going to talk about are interventions. And interventions are those things that we do for children that are designed to teach new skills. And this is the single most distinguishing characteristic between accommodations, modifications, and interventions. Accommodations and modifications are not designed to teach new skills. Interventions are different in that they are designed to teach new skills. The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction defines an intervention as a systematic, which is a planned and strategic, use of a technique, program, or practice which is designed to improve learning or performance in specific areas of student need. And the key word there, well, there's probably a lot of keywords there actually, but specific areas of student need. When we do interventions, we are talking about targeted, planned activities that we do on behalf of the child. Interventions, the goals of an intervention should yield specific and measurable outcomes. They should follow a well-defined plan which identifies who's going to be involved, how long they're going to be involved, how often they're going to be involved, as well as the targeted skill or skills that the intervention is designed to impact. It should also include methods to measure where the child is at in terms of their starting point, as well as progress monitoring points. So along the way at designated intervals, we're going to be measuring how well the child is doing to see if in fact our intervention is making a difference. Also, the interventions by design really should be empirically supported, which is kind of a fancy way of saying that there should be some research, hopefully not by the company that designed the intervention, some independent research suggesting that this intervention has some effectiveness in the area of concern. Some examples of interventions are the Early Reading Empowerment Program, social skill programs. There are certainly plenty of computer programs that are targeted for skill building, touchpoint math intervention, and even like writing without tears. So there are a number being used in the district. The next two slides that you're going to see provide a summary of accommodations, modifications, and interventions in terms of what they do and what they do not do. To the end, and let me tell you, I hope you found this DVD as fun to watch as I had making it. But more importantly, I hope that at your next family outing, or perhaps gala event with friends, that you can pull your friends aside to test them on the differences between accommodations, modifications, and interventions. And if they don't happen to know the difference between accommodations, modifications, and interventions, I hope that you can make a face at them something like this. With air blowing out, that adds a little, kind of punctuates it a bit. After you do that, you're going to hear nothing but comments about how impressed they are with how smart you are. And if you do not hear those comments, I will give you your money back for this DVD. So that's my promise to you. Thank you and happy intervening. or accommodating or not.